Page 8, Hallelujah. It's got some tricky things going on here. I'm going to start with the right hand. The rhythm, if you can get this rhythm at the beginning worked out, it's basically the same rhythm throughout most of the piece. So the tricky thing is you have an eighth rest on beat 1. And you come in on the and of beat 1, so it's 1 and. Again, if you count these out, 1 and, 2 and, 3 and, 4 and, slowly, you ought to be able to work this out. So it's like 1 and, 2 and, 3 and, 4 and. Just make sure the quarter note is a full length, so it's 1 and, 2 and. So that C comes on an and again. Really? Yeah. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. So you can get that rhythm. It's all over the place. You've got it whipped. Left hand can't help you out much because it's just a whole note. It plays on beat 1. That helps a little. 1 and 2 and. But after that, that left hand's not going to help you. Second measure. In the right hand, what's those notes? You have an A flat. Just, not changing anything, I'm just pointing out it's kind of tricky. In the last measure, the first line, starting out up here on the D, they're saying for the last two notes a 1, 2, and then 1 again. I find that unnecessary because, again, when I play the C with third finger for the last two notes there with the A, rather than a 1, I can bring my index finger down just as easily and play that. I don't have to cross over the thumb. This is kind of a happy piece, so it's kind of going to move along, so why not? To me, that's easier than crossing over the thumb, but you can decide which you like better. Second line, last measure, again, we're here. Then here, see the thumb, you got to bring the thumb down because your thumb is on an E, you got it down, and then bring the second finger down, basically change hand position. Last line, first measure, that chord in the right hand, it's a C sharp, a G, and an A. Notice I spell out the chords, is what I call it, spell out the chords. I'm not the only one that calls it that, but I call it that too. You start with the bottom note and you just figure out each note one at a time, and then you get it. I do that a lot because chords can get really ugly. Ugh. A lot of page 9 is the same as what's going on page 8, basically, sort of, kinda, maybe a little bit. Let's look at the last line on page 9. There's a fermata. Well, you have a retard in the first measure, which I'm going to ignore if I play with a metronome. The fermata in the second measure is dotted half note. With a metronome, I just double it. I'm going to hold that 6 counts. And then in the last measure, look at this. You have, well, in the second measure of the last line, they introduced a bass clef. So that's changing everything in the right hand. So you're here for the first note in the second measure. You hear? That's a fermata note. Then they introduce the bass clef. So now you kind of come down here to this D to finish it up. So you're going to finish it up down here. So you're down here and the left hand's here. And then the left hand's going to go down because it's got an 8VA under it, down here. And I'm going to hold that note 4 counts instead of 2. The right hand will come up at the same time and the pedal comes up at the same time and everybody's happy, and that's the way it works. Left hand's not doing a lot. I just don't see that I need to point out much. The only really tricky thing I can see would be the last line on page 8, rhythm. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3. I mean, we've had this in the right hand. Hopefully you get it, because here the left hand has the melody. Duh. It starts with the last measure of the third line, but the left hand gets to take over and show up a little bit. But then in the second measure of the last line on page 8, left hand, it's here. And it's tied, so you only can play it once. If I take out the tie, it would be this. The right hand's tied too, so they're playing together. So you have here. Just know it. People will get the rhythm off and they'll want to play that last note on the beat. They'll do this. That's not what's written, because they're eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. That comes on the end of that, and then it's held down for the full measure on the last measure. It's important to be able to get that kind of stuff if you want to play jazz. Let's try this together slowly and see what happens. The only pedal is at the end. I'm not going to show the pedal. Hopefully you can pedal that okay. Just on the first pedal, make sure you lift the pedal up before you play the eighth notes in the right hand. There has to be a break in the sound between those two. There's a couple of things I'd like to just briefly discuss here. In the left hand at the top of page 9, the first measure is fine. It's a D minor chord. But be careful on the second measure. That is a B natural. See, there's a B flat in the signature. The tendency is to want to play a B flat. Nuh-uh, it's B natural. Then at the end, they put in a retard at the last line on page 9 to slow down. And that's okay. My problem I'm having is I've slowed down. Do I stay slow or do I go back up? Is it an all tempo? They didn't put in an all tempo. Typically after a retard and a hold like that, you'd pick it back up. So the last line in that case would be this. What's that? You just pick it back up and go. They didn't do that here. So do I stay slow? If I stay slow, it's this way. You decide which one you like and you go with that, is what I'm saying. I'll probably pick it back up because that's a habit I have. If after a hold like that, I usually just take off again. But she may have wanted you to stay slow here. We're going to play the eighth notes evenly. We're not going to swing them. We're not doing it happily. You do it happily on your own. We're just doing it. Let's see. Left hand, right hand, foot's on the pedal, ready to go. I'll give us 4 counts. 1, 2, ready and go. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 2, 3, 4. 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3. 1, 2, hold, 2, hold, 2, off. And again, I don't know if there's a recording of this, but I'll give you an idea what I think it should sound like. Something like this.